both sides of the same coin. Okay, so you have the, let's call it shadow side of, okay, the traumas, the wounding, the pain, the hurt, the insecurities. So as you clear those things, at the same time, you start reconnecting with your inner joy, the real joy, the real joy that we forgot as well as adults, that a child has. That if you are aware, if you see a baby, a child, you can see that inner joy. Now again, each baby and each child is individual and is unique. So some babies might come with less joy from other lives, from past lives, from their own individual path. They come with things from the past, and that child might come with different things. But most children, babies, you will see the inner joy. And when they grow up a little bit, they just play with everything. So it's playfulness. It's playfulness, it's joy, it's laughter, it's innocence, it's trust. Who is the easiest to manipulate and lie to, right? A baby, a child. It's because of the innocence and trust. And that's exactly why we lose it. Because at some point, as a child and as a baby, in the wounded world that we grew up in, because we grew up in a wounded world, then a lot of wounded people were around. And those are the experiences that imprinted us. So when you were a child or a baby and you were trusting and you were innocent and you were coming from that place of innocence and trust, then the wounded world responded how the wounded world responds. So that's how you get wounded. It's the same as generational ancestral trauma passing on. It's passing. So I'm a baby, I'm innocent, I'm trusting, and because the world is already wounded, that's what I'm going to receive. So it's just understanding that. It's just a reality of the world that we're coming from. So it's a result, okay? Now, when we do the actual healing, the real healing of those wounds, the real healing is getting to a resolution. So after the process, you get to a resolution, an understanding that is beyond of the mind, and a forgiveness. So when you get to that forgiveness, which is a result of the process of healing, forgiveness cannot be force, push, or make up. I forgive you. Yes. Okay. No, it's not like that. Oh, I want to forgive you. Yeah, but I still feel resentment. But what are you going to do with the resentment? So it's a process of the healing. So through the healing process, through the cleaning, through the letting go, through the going through all those things, then the forgiveness happens on itself. So the forgiveness is a result. So when you get to that, then you see the situation, whatever happened back then that hurt your trust or took your innocence away or made you feel and believe like you couldn't trust anyone, like everyone was, just hurting you or lying to you or betraying you or whatever. Then you can see the situation differently. The forgiveness is there, and then you recover parts of that trust, that joy, that innocence, and that playfulness. And that quality of open-minded, of not knowing, of wonder, that's what you recover from childhood, that we lost or we lose when we are adults and we forget about that. And then we become adults, and then we're adults. with our jobs, serious jobs, etc. Paying bills, being serious, being anxious, not sleeping, not eating, having an unhealthy life, never playing, never laughing, and the joy is gone, we are depressed, but all these things. Because I'm an adult, so I don't play anymore, I don't feel joy, I'm not innocent, I don't trust anybody. All those things are lost in childhood. So those things can be recovered when we do this. Now, a lot of people are reminded of that when they have children of their own. So when they have children of their own, they start remembering those things because of their own child, because they see the innocence, the playfulness, all these things with children. And a lot of parents love having children because of that. But we need to remember that yes, they are there to remind you that, but they're not there to give you that. Because if you lost it, you have to recover it for your own. If not, you're going to suck out the joy of that child. And this is real. This happens to a lot of parents. And they love having children around and all those things because, oh, they give me so much joy. They give me. Right, but are you getting your joy back? Because your joy back is your joy. And their joy is their joy. Their innocence is their innocence. They're not there to make you feel joy, to give you back your innocence. No, they already came with that for themselves. So you have to leave it with themselves. Now, you can use it as a reminder that you need to recover that. So that's when you do your healing. Because each individual in this planet needs to do the work as an individual with your own path, your own memories, your own life, whatever it is that you lived in your home, in your house, and all those things. So now you have to recover that. And it is possible. Yes, it's possible. Yes, it's possible to heal, to release, to forgive, and move on from the past. Move on from all those hurts, from all those things from the past, memories, things that still haunt us. Because wanted it or not, they're there. And they will always come back and haunt you until you heal them. They never go away. They will keep coming back. They might go silent for a few years. They might go silent for a few months, but something is going to happen along the way that is going to take you back to that again. And when I say back to that, is the feeling. It takes you back to the feeling. So something's going to happen that is going to make you face that feeling again. And it's usually a feeling that we don't want to feel. You don't want to feel it. And let's be honest here, no one wants to feel their emotions. No one wants to feel pain. No one wants to feel sadness. No one, like you don't want to feel that. So of course we are constantly resisting to feel that way. But then at the same time, the medicine and the healing is in there. So that's the paradox as well. That is also a paradox. We have to go into the feeling, the uncomfortable feeling, the feeling that we don't want to feel, because that is where the answers are. So through it, then you find the light afterwards. The light is after the joy, that part of joy that you left behind, that part of the innocence child that you left behind, that part of the trust. And the trust, then, it turns out to be trusting yourself. At the end, the trust needs to be trust in yourself. If we don't trust ourselves, we can't trust anyone else. So if I trust myself, I'm going to trust who I'm trusting. Yeah? If I don't trust myself, I don't know if I can trust this person. I'm trusting this person, but should I trust this person? Somebody tell me if I can trust this person. But if I trust myself, I trust my intuition, especially your gut feeling, your intuition will always tell you the truth. But that's also training that we have to do to reconnect with our intent, with our intuition, okay? Because we also get disconnected from it when we grow up and become adults, right? And we get into the world. So the intuition, if I trust myself, I can trust myself to who am I going to trust? So if you're listening to someone talking, that resonates like, oh, that resonates like I can trust this person. It's something inside. It's not what they're saying. It's not about the words. It's something you feel inside. Or you feel like, I can't trust this person. Like, something off. They're just, no. So you don't trust. Just keep an eye on that. Just maybe don't go into business with the person. Maybe don't marry the person. Maybe not, don't sleep with the person. You know what I mean? Like, just listen to that. And, okay, I don't need to get too deep into this with this person that is coming into my life. And that can save you a lot of problems in your life, as you can see. That can save you from huge messes. And it's just because you trust in you. Because at the end, who else is going to tell you? If you are relying on your friend or somebody else, yeah, maybe you trust somebody else and maybe you trust what they're telling you. But at the end, how really sustainable that's going to be? At some point, you're going to be alone and you're going to have to trust, make a decision on your own and listen to that in you. So you have to get to trust yourself. And believe it or not, all of this comes from childhood because that trust, that security that comes from inside comes from childhood. And because most of us did not grow up feeling completely secure for whatever reason, it could have been economical, financial, it could have been because of whatever behaviors we saw in our house, it could have been because of whatever behavior your brother had, or somebody in school, or teachers, or whatever. I mean, anything. It could be anything. So again, your part of your job is to go back into the line, to your past line of life, and just kind of observe and review and look at it, and maybe look at it from a different place, a different perspective, a different light, and maybe see it as a movie. And so when you start doing that, if you're starting, it helps. So it helps to keep you a little bit detached and observe and kind of have more compassion for yourself. To bring more compassion towards yourself. Stop being too hard or too judgmental or too critical of yourself for whatever issues or things that you're going through in your life right now, or whatever insecurities you have, anything. Be compassionate because you look back at your life and you see certain things that you went through that were not easy for you as a child, as a teenager. That when you look objectively and without judgment, you really feel, well, those things were hard for me. I had a hard time going through that. Like that didn't feel okay, and I did go through it. I'm proud of myself that I survived that. I passed that. But let me have more compassion for myself now, for whatever it is that I'm going through now, because of what I've gone through in my life. And everything is like a building block from your life to now. And now it's important to always come back to now and catch up with ourselves now and see where we are now. And then we can go back and work on whatever it is that we need to restore it, resolution, forgiveness, the healing process. And then we go back to now and check with ourselves now. So now whatever situation we have in the present, it will be changed. The perspective will change. You have a different understanding. You have a different solution. Maybe now you see other doors opening that you didn't see before. Things like that. And that is a sign of growth. So this whole work, another one of the results that you get is an improved emotional intelligence and healthier relationships. Because when you own these things, when you own these things from the past and then you heal them and go through the process, when you are an adult now, you get maturity emotionally. That's how you get the emotional maturity. So the emotional maturity is just emotional healing. So you get emotional intelligence from the emotional maturity. That's what emotional intelligence is. So emotional intelligence, again, is not something rational. It's emotional. That's why it's called emotional. The emotional intelligence is not rational intelligence. It's not 2 + 2, 4, and then you do that, and then you follow the instructions, and then, oh, I am emotionally intelligent. No. The emotional intelligence comes from emotional healing, and then that brings you into maturity, and then you have emotional intelligence, meaning that you can deal with things in a more mature way, meaning you don't get to certain reactions that actually, when you get to those reactions, you feel like a child. You literally feel like a child because it is a child part. It is a very young or younger emotional part of you that is coming to react or act because it hasn't gone through the process. It hasn't been grown up. So that is going to come out. So depending on whatever trigger is happening, that's going to come out. You can see this in people of 50, 60 years old. It doesn't matter the biological age, men and women. You can see some people behaving like a 2-year-old or 15-year-old. Sometimes it's a rebel part of you from teenage, things like that, that is not congruent with an adult emotionally. As an adult emotionally, and what I'm saying is not that you're going to repress your emotions. That's not healthy. That's not a healthy way. It's not repressing. It's not being a robot. So I'm so detached from my emotions that I'm a robot now. That's what the social conditioning adult looks like. The adult that thinks it is mature. At the end, what they do is that they cut everything, every emotion, everything, so they are a robot now. I'm emotionless. That's not what I'm saying here. That's not emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is not being a robot and not feeling anything. Because when you become that, you also cutting the joy, the play, the trust, and the innocence. You also cutting the joy out of your life. You must have met some adults like this in your life. Again, if you are an adult over 20 or 30, over 30, at some point in your life, you have met adults like that. And they might not ever react. They might seem very mature, but then they never laugh. They never have joy. They never play. They have no innocence and they have no trust for anyone. So they are a robot. Oh, he's so mature. She's so mature. That's not maturity. That's just repression of all the emotions. That's just emotionless. So it's important to know the difference. That's not healing. That's not a healthy adult. So now the healthy adult and emotional maturity means that you have a good relationship with your own emotions, that you have a healthy relationship with your own emotional self. You learn to accept your emotions. You learn to navigate them. You learn to feel them. So when you do that, they do not control you. That's what emotional intelligence and emotional maturity is. That you learn how to be with them, accept them, feel them, befriend them, because you understand that you are a whole human being with all of this. That's what being a human being is. That's the difference between a human being and a robot.